subscribe, hit those alarms, and enjoy the show. Talking with Topher, episode 10 is here. I really appreciate everybody who has been subscribing, liking, and commenting. I appreciate it, and thank you so much. So today I really wanted to talk about mental health. I've gone through a ton of stuff for my mental health, all the way from when I was 13 up until today. And I want to go over a few things, stuff that I went through and the problems that I dealt with in order to get through and deal with my mental health. I feel that it's very important that these things are talked about and discussed. It's just one of those things where you got to take care of your body, but you also cannot forget the mind, because without the mind, the body will fall apart. So, I lived in Lynn, Mass, and when I was in school, I always got into trouble. I had detentions. I got suspended for vulgar language in the 4th grade. The neighborhood was on a decline. And my parents wanted more for my sister and me. So in 1990, my parents moved us to Derry, New Hampshire. And now I'm living in Derry, New Hampshire. The neighborhood's great. We can ride our bikes up and down the street. It is just something you could not do in Mass. So now we're in a nice, quiet neighborhood. We get to ride our bikes around. We can't go out of sight. I got to stay in sight. Not allowed to go up here. Don't go there, but you can stay here. But at least we're off the property and we're riding our bikes around. So that was a game changer. There was all kinds of new construction around, so it was all pretty much exciting when you're 12, 13, 10. I was 10. So it's just super exciting. You get to go play around in construction and all kinds of stuff like that. Plus, it was a nice experience to actually leave the house, something we didn't get to experience in Lynn. Now, of course, we got new school, no friends. I have the same mentality, so I'm still getting in trouble in elementary school. I'm trying to get people to like me. I'm bringing snakes into school, and of course that gets me suspended. And I'm just getting in trouble. I'm saying things to people, and we're getting in fights. I'm getting my ass kicked because I opened my mouth. So it's just one of those things. Like, I just constantly finding problems. I attract them, right? So now we're getting ready to go into middle school, which middle school is 7 and 8, just before high school. I didn't get into too much trouble in middle school that I can remember. I'm sure if I asked my parents, they could tell me a few more things. But so now we're ending middle school. We're going into high school. My parents are just having a lot of trouble dealing with me. I'm just constantly... my mom does not know what to do, because I believe in middle school, I wasn't in trouble in school. I was doing more stuff out of school than I was in school. But I was still getting in trouble, still doing all kinds of shit that my parents didn't want me to do. I just never really enjoyed... No, I don't think anybody enjoys being told what they can and can't do, right? I mean, that's the basic gist of it. So... now, all through this time, I was only dealing with the school counselor. So, elementary school, school counselor. Middle school, school counselor. And then you get into high school. And my parents were like, we just can't do this anymore. So, we're going to go and see a therapist, because that's what the school counselor suggested that we do. So my mom takes me to a therapist. Of course, I don't want to go. I don't want to talk to anybody. 13, 14. And my thoughts were, if I keep it short and say a little, I can get out of this faster. And that's not the case, because tell them... you just tell them what you want them to hear. You're like, all right, so you're asking me this question. Yeah, this is how I feel about it, and that's it. But it's kind of like court too, where like they're like, oh well, do you feel like you're ever gonna do this again? And you tell them, no, this is never gonna happen. This is not gonna happen. But the weird part is that they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you've thought about it, you've processed it, and now you are going to make sure it doesn't happen again. So therapy is kind of the same thing. So when they ask you a question and you just answer it, that's not what they're looking for, because they're not actually looking for an answer when they ask you a question. They're looking for the way you feel. And they're looking for you to dig and see how that makes you feel, because if you can get how you're feeling out of it, then you can process that feeling, and then that's kind of how therapy works. In my eyes, anyways. That's what I've always gotten out of it. So, of course, I'm trying to, like, swindle these guys in a sense. I'm trying to get past them. I don't want to do this. And so that just ends up making it so that you have to stay there longer. And so I had to go there 2-3 times a week. My parents are paying for it. I don't want to be there. And we're getting, I think this is like the summer after junior high, and now we're getting ready to go into high school. So now, of course, going into high school, I'm a freshman. I am drinking, smoking butts continuous. I'm actually smoking cigarettes now at this point. And they gave me a medication to help me, and because they diagnosed me with ADD, ADHD. So at the time, they give you a medication called Ritalin. And so I'm taking this med, and I am just wired, super wired. Now, back then, they didn't really understand. They were just like, you have this, you take this, it should work. But they ended up finding out that if you take it and it makes you speedy, it's not working and you don't need it. But if you take it and it actually slows you down, then that shows that you need it. So I was the opposite. I got super speedy off of it. So I then found out that you could snort it. So I did. And I would do what they like to say, poor man's cocaine. And I always just did that. That's what I always do. I always try to find something that's going to fuck me up. And that's why I loved alcohol so much, because no matter what was going on, if you get drunk, you get drunk. You just fucked up. And I liked being that way a lot. So now I am, so now I'm a freshman. I'm on Ritalin. I'm still drinking. Still smoking cigarettes. Probably taking acid. My freshman year was really a blur. So I'm pretty sure that whatever meds they were giving me anyways, everything else I was doing behind the scenes was not helping with those medications. Just want to remind you guys, naturalbossnh.com is going live. So when this podcast is uploaded, you can go to naturalbossnh.com and get your hand sanitizer today. That's naturalbossnh.com. Go there, get your hand sanitizer, and have a great day. I failed my freshman year, and I'm now a freshman sophomore. So I believe that meant I was in a freshman homeroom, but I was considered a sophomore because it was my second year. We also found out by the time I became a sophomore that the Ritalin was not doing anything for me. So now I'm off Ritalin, and I'm still having anger outbursts. I'm still drinking, a lot, and I'm blacking out. I have a lot of self-doubt. I'm not a very confident person. So you got all these things going on up until when I turn 18. When I turned 18, I moved directly out of my parents' house and moved in with a girlfriend. So to fast forward, right? There's a lot of dark days in between this. A lot of struggles while I'm moving out of my parents' house, into my girlfriend's house, out of my girlfriend's house, into my parents' house. And then this just went on back and forth, back and forth. It was either a different girl or a different, house. But I always wound up back at my parents' house. So drinking was always involved in this. It was also involved in like every poor decision I feel that I've ever made. Can't take a decision, you make a decision. So from 18 to 27, just moving in and out, moving in and out. Lots of things happened because of my wanting to bury my thoughts. I would drink a ton to just get rid of the self-doubt and the no confidence. If I was drinking, I could be confident. It loosened me up, and I really didn't give a shit, and it would allow me to just, I guess I would say, be me, which I now realize is not. So, there's so many relationships fell apart because of this. Loved ones could only deal with so much. They got to a point where my parents were like, you can't be here anymore. You're out of control. You're drinking all the time. And we know you're of age, but we just can't have this under our roof anymore. So I am trying to take care of my mental health by drinking and drugging, which is not the way you should go about it. That's not going to help mental health, so I find out. But when I was younger, it was fine. You know what I mean? You just think you can do those things, and you don't think anything's bothering you. And so this is right. So in 2007, I ended up meeting my wife, and this was the one person that I felt that I could be 100% honest with. There's nobody in my life that I was ever 100% honest with. And it's sad to say that, but we all feel like we have things that we can't tell certain people because we don't want to hurt them, or we don't want to disappoint. And my wife really taught me that, well, telling the truth is so much easier than lying, because at least when I'm telling the truth, I don't have to remember that I told you the truth, because it is just the truth. I don't have to remember if I told you a different story before and make sure my stories match up, or, there's a lot of work in lying. So, anywho, this helped me with some of my mentalness, my mental health. And she didn't do it directly. It was just the fact that I could be at ease around her and tell her everything. And that was a game changer for me, because I just didn't understand that could happen. And I didn't realize how nice it was to not have to lie and to not have to make up stories and do all these things. So for me, for my mental, this was an eye-opener. And I think this is kind of when I was like, wow, I really probably should do something for myself, because my brain, being depressed and holding things back and drinking all the time and burying stuff, she showed me that if I talked about stuff, all of a sudden the thoughts were kind of gone, because now I put them out there. I put all those thoughts out there that I was keeping inside, and now it's like I don't sit with them anymore. So that was something that really opened my eyes. So now I'm looking into getting medication for depression and actually trying to help myself. I had to go to my doctors, and we tried 3 or 4 different medications. I eventually got one, and it worked really well. But I was still having some moments and some days, so they bumped it up to an XL. Now we're getting our own apartment, and we're moving into Merrimack. And my depression has gotten better. I'm having a lot less dark days. I'm having a lot less trouble kind of sifting through the shit, per se. So I'm feeling like things are fixed. They're good, right? That's usually how it goes. You start feeling good. You're like, oh, I'm fixed. If I just take this pill every friggin' day, this is going to be great. And so I also believe that working third shift kind of messed me up too, where not that it's like, it's just a hard shift. You're working overnights. Your body's not meant to be up at that time, so it confuses your entire body, and I do believe it messes with the mentalness as well. Because if your body's supposed to be resting and not eating and working, then your brain's supposed to be doing the same. So I felt like working third shift put some of this stress on me. So that being said, in 2012, we're now getting ready to leave Merrimack. We're going to go get a house. You know, we're both doing very well in our positions. Third shift is going strong. And we're like, all right, we can do this. If we can find a house, then we'll do it. Well, we finally get a house. It's a rent to own. And a year later, we buy it. So now we buy a house. I'm really starting to get tired of feeling this anxiety and anger mixed with depression. And then, of course, you throw in self-doubt. So in 2013, I finally find a therapist. I find a therapist of my own. I finally go, hey, I got to do something, and I think I need to go and get help. And at this time, I just wanted to stop yelling and screaming, to communicate, and always just being angry at every little thing that would ever happen. I mean, it was stupid. I still get upset about things, but at least I'm not yelling and screaming anymore. So I just want to let people know too that the difference between a counselor, which is somebody who you can talk to, and then a therapist who is also somebody you can talk to. But on the counselor side, they're only somebody you can talk to. So now you're talking to this person. They can help you with your problems. But if there's medications that could help more with those issues, you have to now go see a therapist. And you have to tell your story all over again. So my suggestion is if you're going out there and you're looking for help, go to a therapist, because if it does lead to medications, those guys can just prescribe you the meds, and then you go back to them, you talk to them again, you let them know how you're feeling with the meds. They're going to figure, by what you're feeling, they will be able to help you adjust your medication for you and get it right. Instead of having to talk to somebody, have them help you figure it out, and then you got to go talk to somebody else to figure it out again just to get the meds. So when I looked into it, I saw that there was a big difference, and I knew medication was going to be involved whether I wanted to take it or not. So I went directly to a therapist. It takes about a year with these meds to get them working, to allow, because some of them would make me feel nauseous. Other ones would be not strong enough, or they weren't doing what they were supposed to. And we get this down to like a science. I'm on my antidepressants. I'm on a high anti-anxiety medication that I take 3 times a day. The depression once in the morning, once a day. And then I'm also on a mood stabilizer that I take in the morning and I take at night to help my mood stay positive. So I'm just going off of what these guys tell me. So I've got high anxiety, I got depression, and I have a mood that's unstable. So now I'm taking all of these fucking pills to help all these things. Mind you, it is working. And it is doing its job. But now I am talking with my brother-in-law. His nephews get into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I go over to a really good friend's house, and he's got a gi on the table, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh, I signed up for Brazilian jiu-jitsu." And I was like, "Really? I've been wanting to get into it." And he's like, "All right, well, go here. This is where I'm going, and sign up and go." And I put some thought into it. I made up excuses why I couldn't go. I made up excuses why I shouldn't. I made up excuses. And it took me a couple weeks. I think it was probably a month before I actually signed up for class in 2015. And I do want to give a shout out to Tim Bouchard's Professional Martial Arts Academy in Derry, New Hampshire. Check them out.
New Hampshire Vape Gallery. They're located in Seabrook, New Hampshire, between Home Depot and Smoke Rings on Lafayette Road in Seabrook, New Hampshire. We have all your bars. Everybody's looking for disposables right now, and we've got them all. I've even got the side bars. Now, these things are made by Salt Bay or Vape Goons, if you remember when they used to go by that name. These are just great tasting. I mean, if you like Salt Bay juice, then you're going to love these disposables. But we have them. We have them all. We got your puff bars. We've got your plus bars. We've got your Escobars. I've just got over 150 different flavors of your favorite disposable. So come on down. Check us out. 603-814-4171. And again, this is New Hampshire Vape Gallery, 180 Lafayette Road, Seabrook, New Hampshire, located in between Home Depot and Smoke Rings. I hope to see you there. Have a great day. Talk to you later.
I started jiu-jitsu. I'm still seeing my therapist, and this time around, I actually want to see my therapist. So where I talked about trying to get people to, not do drugs and stuff like that, and you can tell them not to until you're blue in the face, and it's not going to help. Same thing with this. My parents tried for years to get me into therapy, try to get me to talk about my shit and deal with it, and I refused it, and it wasn't until I said, hey, I need to do something, and then it started working for me because I was actually working it. So, and I'm getting this stuff done. I'm still drinking, mind you. I am still doing all the things that interrupt these drugs from working. So, if you're on depression medication, you're not supposed to be drinking at all. If you're on high anxiety medication, you're not supposed to be drinking. All these drugs are supposed to do a specific thing. And if you throw alcohol and pot and acid and mushrooms and all this shit on top of those things, it causes them not to work as well as they probably should. It wasn't until, September 15th of 2016 that I stopped drinking. So now, after I stopped drinking, a ton has changed. I had a friend introduce me to podcasts a couple years prior, but I really wasn't into them as much. I got more into just Joe Rogan, and now I listen to so much more. But we were talking about testosterone and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, all right. So why don't I was like, so I should probably go and talk to my doctor about this because it's popping up on podcasts. They're talking about how it can help with depression, your pituitary gland, if it's misfiring and all this other stuff. Obviously, look this information up to get better facts than what I'm giving you. But the basic gist of it is that I needed to go get my testosterone tested. And it turns out that I was low in my testosterone. So now I'm talking to my therapist to slowly get off my medication. It has been a couple years, and I've been on antidepressants for almost 10, 15 years, and I'm on this anxiety medication for like 3, 4 years, and so I'm like, all right, well, I want to get off these meds. And he goes, okay. And I go, well, this is what I'm doing. And I told him, I'm looking into my testosterone. My testosterone's low, and I'm gonna start these treatments. And the treatments that I took were an HCG. Can't tell you what that means right now. I'm not the person for that. All I know is that it's HCG, and I used to inject it into my stomach with a needle. It's pretty cool. So I would get these, and then that helps my testosterone. And then to help with my mental, I was injecting B12. So I'm injecting HCG to help with testosterone, and I'm injecting B12 to help with mood. At the same time, I am telling my therapist all of this, and he is slowly walking me off of my medications. We're doing half doses and whatever. And so now it took a year to get off of my medication fully, because I have a friend that just stopped taking his meds altogether, and he went through some crazy withdrawals. I decided to go with the therapist and allow him to walk me off my medications, which is a lot more comfortable than just stop taking your meds, because your body's going to have a reaction whether you want it to or not. If it's been taking something for so long and you take it away, the body's going to react a specific way. I don't know which way it's going to react, because we're all different. So I didn't want to take that chance, and I just let the doctor do their job. And it took about a year to walk off. And during this year to walk off my meds, I was doing the injections for, I think it was about 6 months. So everything was just getting so much easier with all of this new knowledge and doing these things. My mood was lifted. My confidence was back. My anger was almost non-existent, to the point where I wasn't just blowing up about stuff. I wasn't freaking out. I don't know, stupid shit. I scratched my fucking door on my car the other day with my weed whacker, and I just looked at it and I went, fuck. And I just grabbed the weed whacker and, went on my day. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was angry and upset. But what am I going to do? I'm going to take some rubbing compound to it, and now I got a little dent in my fucking door, and whatever. Stop being stupid with the weed whacker, and, maybe move the car next time. I just come up with something else, because back in the day, I would have sat there and I would have yelled and I would have screamed, and I probably would have thrown the weed whacker on the ground and screamed at that for denting my door, when all it was is I forgot I was holding a friggin' 6-foot long weed whacker with a spinning wheel at one end, and I got too close to my car door. So just things like that were getting easier. Mental health is very tough to get through, but if you get help, it just makes it easier. Don't try to self-medicate and try to deal with your mental health yourself. I tried that road. It does not work. Doesn't work as good as it does when you have somebody help you. And now that I'm finally off of all of my meds, I've actually been off of my meds for, let's see. I stopped drinking about 4 years ago, so I think I've been off my meds for about 2 years now. Maybe 3, maybe. And I get my testosterone checked out every I won't say every, but I try to do it every 6 months. If I can, I'll do it once a year and just see where my level's at. And if I need to boost it again, I'm doing exercises to help boost it. One, because those meds are not cheap uh, by any means. So I don't want to pay for them, So there's things you can do. Squats, specific exercises. I don't know them all, but they're out there. You can do them at home, and you don't have to pay any more money. These things already do these actions to help you boost your testosterone. It's not as massive of a boost. So if you are extremely low on your testosterone, I would definitely recommend talking to a doctor and seeing what route they would go to help boost it up faster. But doing squats, and once my testosterone got to a level, I felt like if I just keep doing these things, it's going to keep it up there. And I feel like it works great, just exercising. All right, so I take a lot of supplements, and the supplements help with a lot of this stuff. Like I take the B12 so I don't have to inject it anymore. Is it as strong as the B12 I was injecting? No. May not even be close. But I injected with so much B12 that I'm hoping that it's keeping my levels. And I do have to get back to the doctors, and I have to get these things tested, and I need to see where they're at. And I will do that. I just haven't done it yet, so I don't really know where I've been sitting for the last 6-7 months. The B12, it was the most important because that's a mood booster. So that was helping boost my mood, and it helped me get rid of my medication for my depression. So in conclusion, mental health is real, and you can get help. So take care of your mind just as much, if not more, than your body, because without the mind, the body will fall apart. Remember, subscribe, hit those like buttons, and if you want to know when my next video is coming up, set those alarms. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later.